And APB, American Protection Bureau, voted #1 best on Long Island for all your security needs. Call 631-390-9050. That's 631-390-9050. APB. M&J Video Games and Collectibles. Sport and non-sport cards, wrestling items, autographed items. We buy, sell, and trade. M&J Video Games and Collectibles, located at 1049 Queen Street, Southington, Connecticut. Call us at 1-860-479-9223 or 860-93-GAMES. M&J Video Games and Collectibles.
At Kowalski's, you train with a number of future stars, and I'm going to ask you about two in two separate questions. So the first is Paul Levesque, who of course the world knows as Triple H, and you actually did work quite a bit with him. And so talk about the young H. Did you have any idea he would become the megastar that he became?
I mean, probably not, because at that time, we were all just. It was just all of us, and you didn't know who just wanted to do it on weekends like me, and who wanted to make it a career or a lifestyle, etc. So I mean, did I think he had it in him? Yeah, for sure. Just like Perry Saturn and John Cronus. The day that they walked in there, I just was like, that. Now those two I knew on day one. Just I saw what they could do on the first day. So those two, yes, I did. And as far as Paul goes, I mean, he was just very shy, very quiet, very humble. I mean, I don't want to say not friendly, but just shy. In which, I mean, I was the same. So I saw him at every show. I saw him at every training, always spoke, always very nice. I've seen him since multiple times, always speaks, very nice, always a handshake, a hug, a very, very nice person. And I think he deserves everything that he got. And I hate when people say he only has what he has because he married the boss's daughter. That's ridiculous. I mean, he was a star before he started dating the boss's daughter. And
he was always a huge student of the game.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Now, because of the fact that there was a shortage of women there, you pretty much worked with him a lot, didn't you?
No, I mostly worked with Cookie.
Okay, so there was one left then.
Yeah, and then there was a girl also that came in, Jamie West. She came in because Walter moved from Boston to Malden, and he rented space from Richard Burns, who was a karate instructor and a wrestler, and his champion was Jamie West. His league was the USWF, and he had her, and then there was 2 or 3 other girls there also. And then, a few years down the road, Ramblin' Rose and Violet Flame came, and Alexa Starr. And, most people didn't last, but some did. Some quit after like a year or 6 months or 2 years. But yeah, there was a lot of girls. Certainly not compared to guys. I mean, there was 30 guys there and 4 girls. So.
Yeah. Now, Brittany, at some point, were you considered a graduate, though, or were you always a student there?
Oh, yeah, I was a graduate, but I didn't always go 4 days a week. I mean, once I started working and working for other promoters, too,
Right.
I would go maybe once a week, maybe twice, if that, and then I just stopped going altogether right around the time Joni came.
What year was that then?
Oh, God, I don't even remember. I don't even remember, but she wasn't there very long. And I just ended up not going anymore. I was working every weekend, and I really didn't have the time to keep, I couldn't go there on the weekends because I worked, like I said, a full-time job. And then I worked every Friday night, every Saturday night, and sometimes on Sundays. And I was working in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, even.
What
So
kind of work did you do? Just out of curiosity.
I do insurance.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm third generation. My grandpa and my dad both did that as well.
All right.
Well, continuing with the students, Benny mentioned there were two. Obviously, Paul Levesque, the first. The other notable graduate is Joni Lauer, known to the world as Chyna. She's an interesting case because she was quite critical in her book about Kowalski and his training methods, his practices, which Benny and I were talking before the show, is really the only criticism I'd ever heard of him. We've had some of Kowalski's students on the show before, and they've all nothing but good things to say about his methods.
Yep.
Now, mind you, I mean, Kowalski's a man, Bruno, feuded with for years, and he had nothing but praise. And I mean, that, how many times, Benny, have we said on the show, if Bruno respects you, that's really the only bar you need.
Spoke volumes about him in his book.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not just as a wrestler, but as a person. And Bruno was known for being a judge of character and being a man of moral. So, I mean, you mentioned that she was the reason that you left the school, but kind of, I was hoping you could kind of expand on that a little bit, elaborate on it.
Sure. Yeah. So, she kind of came there with a vengeance. She had absolutely no idea what she was doing, which is normal. I mean, we all came there one day and didn't know what we were doing, didn't know how to lock up, right? But she was going to kind of steamroll over everybody before she knew how to lock up. And she decided that she would undercut the rest of us girls by 50%. So when I heard that, I was just like, you know what? I'm not working for that, because the lowest pay that I get is from Walter. And that was out of, loyalty to him. Everybody else was paying me 2, 3, almost 4 times what he paid me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm not going to work for half. So that's when I walked. And, she did what she did from there. And, there's a lot of interesting stories about her that a lot of people don't know, I'll tell you.
So, in other words, she worked for Kowalski for half of what you were going to work at. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I handed him back the belt and said, good luck to you.
You had that belt for years, didn't you?
I did.
And that was is the IWF?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I had that belt for years.
Well, outside of the character issues that you were so polite to circumnavigate, we talked about recognizing talent. She was such a unique presence when she first kind of became mainstream. Was she one that you saw and you're like, there's something here? Or did you never get that far because of the personality?
No, I never in a million years thought she would last more than 6 months.
Oh, wow.
She was like really, really uncoordinated. She was, I mean, you know what she looked like when she first started. And I was just like, yeah, this isn't going to work. So I had to have been the most surprised person in the world when she became what she became. I'll be honest with you. And I say, absolutely. And I told her at WrestleMania 14, I went to the party with May and Moolah at the Boston Garden afterwards. And I congratulated her and told her I was very proud of her and said, you really amazed me. And I said, good for you. Congratulations. So that was probably one of the last times we ever spoke.
Wow. So, Brittany, natural question. Why didn't you have a run in the then WWF? And you really didn't pursue this, but it was on the advice of Killer Kowalski. And can you explain this in a little bit more detail?
Yeah, definitely. So they called either 2 or 3 times. I think it was no, it was 3 times. 3 times they called, and each time Walter said, absolutely not. It's not going to work. They're going to want you to quit your job, which you don't want to do. And I made that clear when I started that I didn't want to do that. And he said, also, it's just not going to work out with the outfits that you wear. He's not going to allow you to wear those outfits, and you won't change them. So why bother? Why bother even doing one match for them? And, I talked to him about it. I talked to my dad about it, and I wasn't willing to change my outfits, which that wasn't the first organization that asked me to change my outfits. And I didn't do it for them, and I wasn't going to do it for anybody. I mean, I had a style of what I wanted to wear, and I was pretty adamant about it. Reason being that I didn't like the fact that people looked at women's wrestling back then as just TNA. And, I had people look at me like I was like a mud wrestler or an oil wrestler in like a bar room or something. And I was just like, no, you've got this confused because